Memoirs of a Royal Guard. Written by Anzel. Chapter 2. An Evening in Honesty. 2 weeks. It took a full 2 weeks just to find enough ponies to minimally staff Princess Luna's house guard with a squad. Imagine that. Only a single squad of 9 ponies to protect one of our alicorn sovereigns. Captain Shining Armor had been careful, and rightly so. Princess Luna was now one of the only 2 rulers of Equestria after all. That meant her security detail had to be staffed by the very best. Each guard was hoof-picked by Shining Armor, interviewed repeatedly, and had their entire guard file audited. The goal was to end up with a group of ponies that were as skilled and as dedicated as the ones that staffed Princess Celestia's house guard. Or were at least close enough and willing to take the transfer. Members of the Princess Celestia's house guard were, without any doubt, the finest guards I'd ever met. While the captain was putting together Princess Luna's unit, I got to know many of them since I was temporarily assigned to their commander, Lieutenant Astral Dyke, and worked with them to protect Princess Luna. It was clear to me that they did not exactly appreciate the task, but they did the job without question. Though we worked together, I was still an outsider. They only let me hoof the line of their inner circle, and I understand that. Royal Guard units, especially ones so elite, are like that. New ponies had to earn their way in, and all I had done was step forwards on the parade ground. They'd invested their entire careers into getting to where they were. Matters took a turn for the worst when my standard issue armor was replaced by the set that was designed specifically for the new unit. The uniform and dress standards of Princess Luna's house guard were different than that of our peers. It was done in a way to better reflect the princess's style and give her something that felt uniquely her own. At least that is what the mayor in charge of the design had said, and, to be honest, it suited me fine. I was never a fan of gold. My armor was Byzantine and heliotrope highlights. That was the designer's fancy way of saying dark and light purple. All the segmented plates were light with the darker colors set in the breastplate. It looked rather impressive, but also just a little bit sinister. I didn't really feel like it was made a huge case for Princess Luna not being Nightmare Moon. What did I know, though? I was just a rookie guard on his first assignment. It was just so happened to be that my first assignment meant immediately guarding a princess. The door to my barracks room opened and the captain walked in. Immediately I rose to attention. "At ease, Silent Knight. There's some pony here I want you to meet." He stepped out of the way and let the unicorn mare walk past him. She was tall for a mare, silvery white in color, and had a cultish turquoise and a pink mane. Her cutie mark was a silver shield with a rainbow on the front. There was also some kind of design on it that I recognized from around Canterlot. It was called something like a flower of lies. No, that didn't seem right. "This is Iridescence," Shining Armor said. "She is your new partner. Pay attention to her, alright? She's been with the Palace Guard for 3 years. I'm certain you can learn from her experience." She was a guard. She seemed a bit too pretty for that, but I certainly wouldn't have said so out loud.
"Nice to meet you, Silent Knight,"
she said, levitating a few bags into the room and setting them on the bunk opposite of mine. "Likewise." I looked at the captain and nodded. "Will do, sir." "Very good. You two get acquainted. You'll be working opposite shifts." He turned and left, shutting the door behind him. I slowly sat back down on my bunk. Iridescence started going through her bags and unpacking.
"Have you been here long?"
2 weeks.
So, not long."
I shook my head. She glanced over at my new armor and raised a hoof.
"That certainly stands out a ton against every pony else's armor. You probably get a lot of looks."
It was true. I nodded.
"Alright, well, I'm just going to unpack."
"That sounds good." She seemed nice enough. I rolled over onto my bunk and picked up my procedures manual. It was the one only used by Princess Celestia's house guard. We would be adopting it for Princess Luna, and I wanted to make certain I knew it from cover to cover. That sort of thing can come in handy. The first lesson that any pony has to learn as a Royal Guard is that even though you spend most of your career training for the worst possible situation, your average day will be far more mundane. Guarding Princess Luna meant remembering 2 rules. Keep your mouth shut and stand no further than 2 paces away from the princess at all times. If you can do that for 12 hours on end, then you're set. That also summed up my first month of duty when I was on shift. Truth be told, I was starting to feel like a pet. Wherever Princess Luna went, I followed close. Breakfast? Me watching her eat from over her shoulder. Official meetings? Silent night against the wall. Late night skee ball at the Palace Arcade? 2 paces to the left of the machine. Princess Luna loved skee ball, but she wasn't that great at it. Once I was almost struck directly in the face by a ball that went wide. That was probably the most dangerous event in my early career. 12 hours a day, I was 2 paces away if we were anywhere other than her chambers. If we were there, I was by the door so that I could stop any intruder that might happen to wander in. That was, of course, assuming they got past the gate, 2 or so companies of palace guards, and all of the support ponies. When you spend that much time with any pony, you get to know them. My very important pony was different from most, though. Not because she was an alicorn or a princess, but because she had been stuck on the moon for 1,000 years. More than anything, Princess Luna was struggling to fit in. There was simply no polite way to put it. She didn't know any pony, had no friends, and relied heavily on her sister to assign her duties. There wasn't a royal function that was all her own. The palace staff and other guards weren't a big help either. They typically gave her a wide berth, and it wasn't out of respect. On the face of it, most ponies were polite to her, but very few tried to get close. There were always rumors about her being evil or strange, and while she kept a stiff off her lip, when she thought no pony was looking, I could see the pain on her as plain as day. That was how it was sometimes. If you're doing your job right, the pony you're guarding forgets you're there. You're just a piece of the background. At least, that's what I thought. One evening, after raising the moon, Princess Luna was standing out of the balcony looking into the night sky. It wasn't uncommon for her.
Silent night?
She asked, catching me off guard. She'd never spoken at me, much less used my name. I wasn't even aware she knew it. Gathering my wits, I responded, Princess? Turning from where she was gazing up, she made eye contact with me.
'Tis true that thou weren't the only pony volunteer to our house guard.
Speak clearly when spoken to. That part I had down. Never tell a lie. Got that too. However, the princess already struggled with enough ponies not relating to her. Telling her that yes, only one pony wanted to be her guard seemed like a bad idea. It would probably be a bad idea to mention that every pony else more or less voluntold to join the unit. To be safe, I decided I would gloss over the truth with an elaborate but believable tale. But, yes, princess, was with a mouth replied, while I was still working out the details. Stupid, honest mouth. She turned away from me.
We see, and wherefore didst thou volunteer?
Important ponies were always interested in motivations. I would be a lie to say I didn't think for myself. I certainly did. But I was also a guard. Guards follow orders and did what they were told. Thinking was for their superiors. In this particular case, however, I knew I'd have to answer, and answer carefully. I don't believe you were Nightmare Moon, princess. Well, still, that is. You probably had a good reason for what happened too. With all due respect, princess, my preference is always to meet a pony and then make a judgment for myself. The princess seemed to ponder that answer, and thought I was in the clear. She went silent for a while longer before speaking up again.
And thou risked thy career for the opportunity to meet us?
No, that certainly wasn't true. I couldn't tell her that. Plus, she might be thinking I was trying to fraternize, and that was not going to happen. I knew I'd have to take another stab at it. Not exactly, princess. Royal guard ponies are supposed to stand up for the little pony. It upset me when no pony else stepped forwards. When they didn't, it was clear I had to. What an elegant and great speech, Silent Knight. Other than the part where you called the princess a little pony, that was what the guards referred to as a resume-generating event.
Thinkest thou that we are a little pony?
She asked. Her tone held a note of confusion. That was a step up from angry, at least. Never let any pony shake your cool. That was certainly easy for my dad to say. He wasn't staring down Princess Luna alone on a balcony. I could feel my cheeks turn red and willed them to stop. They won the battle. No, princess. It was an expression. I meant no pony stood up for you, so it was my duty to do so. Every pony should have some pony in their corner. I could feel a bead of sweat running down my forehead and side of my helmet. I had not strung together this many words since elementary school. Her head tilted curiously.
What does thou mean, in our corner?
Seriously, Silent Night, couldn't you have made it another 2 hours until your shift ended? Stupid, honest mouth. Princess, it is another expression. It means having some pony that looks out for you, that supports you no matter what. Like a friend or, what would make the most sense? A sister. Yes, like her sister. I made a mental note to spend less time in the gym and more time reading philosophy or psychology, anything to make talking to ponies easier. Princess Luna smiled just slightly at me. She didn't do so often, so it was nice to see her smile. Frightening, like I was about to be tossed into a dungeon or off the balcony, but nice.
And thou art at our corner, Silent Night.
Ah, honest mouth, now it is your time to shine. Yes, princess. Always.
This pleaseth us,
she replied as she walked past me and back to her quarters.
Thou hast a clever way with words, though thou mayest wish to report to medic. 'Tis not too warm this eve, yet thou art looking very feverish with all thy sweating.
Never let any pony shake your cool. Easy for Dad to say. My shift was over in 2 hours. After that, I would report to the medic, just in case. Iridescent sat on her bunk, familiarizing herself with the procedures manual. She didn't have one herself, who know why, but I didn't mind sharing, and my thoughts were too focused on the letter in front of me to worry about where her manual was. Dear Winter Spear, you never guess what happened. I'm not really sure I understand it happened myself. Either way, I know you won't like hearing this. Dad was right. All that hard work was worth it. Being left in Canterlot alone was frightening, but it did a good job preparing me to deal with the type of ponies that live here. Plus all that extra education and a chance to train at the Central Royal Academy Guard paid off. I'm a house guard. Can you believe that? My first assignment is to the house guard. Princess Luna's house guard, but still, it was worth it. Congratulations on making sergeant. Few ponies deserve it as much as you. Your brother, Silent Night. Carefully, I started to try and fold the letter. That wasn't something easy to do with hooves, but I usually managed. After struggling with it for a minute, it floated away from me wrapped in royal blue magic.
If you don't mind, Silent Night, I can do that for you.
Iridescent said, her horn illuminated. Magic. Unicorn magic. It wasn't something I was used to even after all my years in Canterlot. Truthfully, I was wary of it, but she was being helpful. Thank you, I replied and let her do the folding. Once she was done, I stuck the letter in an envelope and headed off to mail it. It was a shame I'd waited so long. The letter was long overdue, but Winterspear would understand. She always did. There we go. I hope you've enjoyed this chapter. I've been really enjoying reading this entire fic itself. I'm actually like several chapters ahead, and it's been really different change of pace from my typical reading, but a great slice of life so far. What's also great are my wonderful donators. Thank you Chase Lee Master and Texture for supporting my small channel. I really do appreciate it. Anyways, this has been Firehearth. Have a wonderful day.